Get set. Right, my beautiful people, welcome back to another STR News and Digest. Today I got a lot of news I want to cover today, but mainly we're going to talk a lot about travel today, especially because April 15th just passed, which is tax day. And for those of you that are expecting a refund, I got some options for you. We're going to talk about some budget travel. Let me give you a quick breakdown of what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to give you an update on last week's Airbnb new policy. I'm going to give you an overview, and then towards the end of this, I will go into great detail on some of this. So if you have any questions regarding the new policy, then you can ask it, throughout the live stream. But if you want to wait towards the end, I'm going to go into great detail. We can have a discussion on it. Then there's still a few unknowns. I've reached out to my rep there. She didn't even know the answers to some of my questions. But I got a feeling most of us are going to be okay. I am definitely going to be walking that gray line. But we'll talk about that in a second. We're going to talk about budget travel, why budget travel, I believe, is going to make a comeback towards the end of summer. We're going to talk about a TSA ban list that came out. We'll talk about that. I'm going to give you 11 places that I highly recommend you use your tax refund to visit. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Expedia, again, which is part of Airbnb. They just updated their one key policy. Now, if you're a member of Expedia and you use their one key, which is like their rewards program, there's going to be some changes. We're going to talk about that. What else? If we have, depending on how long it takes, if we have time, I'm going to give you a 7-day itinerary for Italy, right? Even though I've been preaching for the last 2 years at least that you should not visit some of the major hubs, especially in Europe, because there's been a lot of pushback against tourism in places like Barcelona, Madrid, Rome. What's another big one? Some areas in Greece. We're seeing a lot of pushback. But there's a lot, Europe is huge. There's a lot of beautiful places to visit that, in my opinion, is actually better than some of these major cities. And they're going to save you money because they're not as popular. So the prices are not overinflated. And a lot of you have to travel in the summer because you have kids. And the summer is the only time you can travel with them. Highly recommend that you stay away from these high populated areas, specifically not just because of cost, but because you're at least for me, and I'm speaking for me at this point right now, I hate freaking crowds. I hate waiting in line. So if you want to avoid that, you can do so by going to some of the places that I'm going to recommend. In addition to that, a lot of these high like Barcelona, Madrid, especially Rome, Paris, they're plagued with a lot of petty crime, specifically pickpocketing, some scams. I'm going to do a full video on some of the scams that are very popular in places like Paris, like Madrid, like Barcelona, because as much as I say not to go, a lot of you are still going to go. So I want you to be aware of some of the scams specifically that happened there. Like I said, I'm going to do a full video on that coming up. But right now, let's get into the update. I'm going to go again. I did the full video and went into great length explaining the big rollout that Airbnb did. But real quick, there's two big changes that you have to be aware of if you're a host, and this also applies to you if you are a guest. More so if you are a guest, because there's a lot of misinformation, and even Airbnb throws out the misinformation, and I'm going to talk about that now. So right now, the first big change, and it's not really a change, it's been in practice for a while now, and that is their price transparency rule that they rolled out, meaning they're doubling down on it. Because like I said, it's been in existence. If you use Airbnb and you pay attention, you're one of those people that like attention to detail, you already know that you can click the button that shows you the total price of a stay, right? Of a short-term rental. But now you don't have to click that button because now it's automatically going to be there. That's one big change. The second big change is what's referred to as off-platform communication. And this is where a lot of confusion, both from the host and the guest perspective, and mainly because of Airbnb. So for example, Airbnb sends you an email when you book a property, and it tells you not to do stuff off platform. And it also tells you if a host asks for money off platform, that you should notify Airbnb and be careful with that. I agree with that, but here's the problem. Here's the confusion. And how do I phrase this? First of all, let me just say this. More than 80% of the hosts are mom and pop operators, right? So it doesn't apply to the majority of them. This is why there's a lot of confusion. But there is a growing number of professionally managed properties and professionals that run large portfolios that have exceptions to the rules. I talked about this before. Again, I'm not going to go in great detail, but if you are a API connected property, or you have a property that's connected to either a channel manager or a PMS system, then you can do stuff off platform. And that's where the confusion is, right? Because everything you've been doing in the past, you can still do today if you are one of those three things that I just mentioned. But the confusion is that Airbnb is sending out these emails advising guests of this policy. So, for example, I constantly get emails or guests when they book my property, and we ask for them to upload their identification and to leave the security deposit or pay the waiver. They're like, Airbnb says not to do that. So we're constantly having to respond to these guests and telling them, it's authorized. If you like, notify Airbnb and they'll confirm it, which it really causes, it really doesn't create a great guest experience when there's that doubt and lack of trust in the system. But that doubt and lack of trust in the system is created by Airbnb. They should notify people if you book one of my properties and it's an API directed property, then Airbnb should know that I'm allowed to do that, and they shouldn't send out that email. And it's an easy fix, people. Everything's AI today. We automated all of our messaging, all of our messages for each property. Airbnb can do the same. Why they're not doing it, I have no idea, but I've said this before. Airbnb, although they're the dominant platform, they're not very good at what they do. In fact, their customer service sucks. There's a lot of bad things with Airbnb. But like I mentioned before, for me specifically, big love-hate relationship with Airbnb because they are a dominant force in the industry. Anyway, if you have any questions on that, list them below. As I mentioned, I may, depending on time restraints, I may go a little deeper on that towards the end of this video, but I want to move on. Now I want to talk about budget travel, and I'm going to give you some deals. And if you follow me specifically if you follow these STR News and Digest live streams that I've been doing for a while now. And again, for those that are new, I do these live streams every Wednesday at between 5:30 and 6:30. Most of the time it's going to be at 6 p.m. Today I got on a little earlier. Last week I got on a little late, but it just depends on my schedule. But it's every Wednesday between 5:30 and 6:30. I'm going to go live. So if you want to stay informed, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, and I give a lot of information related to travel, a lot of news that comes up. I'm going to give you some news now related to TSA, a reminder about the Real ID. But right now, we're going to talk about budget-friendly travel. And I'm going to give you some deals that are available to you today. But if you follow the channel, budget-friendly travel was on a decline for a while. But I believe is going to pick up, especially for summer travel, because of the uncertainty that's happening and because of the propaganda. And it's propaganda. The propaganda that many governmental entities are putting out there, specifically European countries. I mean, Canada did the same thing. They put out this propaganda of not to visit the U.S. because of the immigration policies that the Trump administration have put into place. So, having said that, I firmly believe that because of this uncertainty, that the budget travel is going to pick up again. So, here's some deals that are available to you. And these are all budget airlines. You know, a budget airline is going to be like Allegiant, Frontier, Spirit. A lot of people hate on Spirit. I personally have become a big fan of Spirit, but only if you are a gold member. You get a lot of privileges as a gold member. You can fly very inexpensive. And I can give you some great travel hacks that I use, and I'm not going to put them out to everyone. You have to DM me, and I'll tell you specifically. You know, I usually, like now, I'm leaving Friday to Colombia, and it's costing me $69, maybe $75 round trip. I'm going to be sitting in the big seats. I'm going to get all the food for free Wi-Fi. But that's because I'm a gold member. Anyway, here's some sales, right? Asheville. Now, this is an Allegiant. Allegiant is based out of North Carolina. So if you're flying out of Asheville, North Carolina, and you want to go to Austin, Texas, they have round trip tickets for $56. You want to go to Boston, $54. You want to go to Chicago, $51. You want to go to Denver, $65. You want to go to Destin, Fort Walton Beach, Florida, $52. If you want to visit me in Fort Lauderdale, $39. Fort Myers, Punta Gorda, $53. Houston, Texas, $49. Key West, $55. Okay, that's on Allegiant. Now, you have several others that I'm going to go over now, and this is on, what airline is this? This is JetBlue Spirit. So Boston to Fort Lauderdale, $127 round trip. Fort Lauderdale to San Juan, Puerto Rico, $127. Fort Lauderdale to Chicago, $152. You have Miami to Baltimore, $102. Miami to San Juan, $108. Miami to Dallas, $118. Miami to Atlanta, $73. Miami to New Orleans, $38. Guys, you can't beat these prices. You have more information on these specific deals, DM me the word deals, and I will give you the information. Now, always keep in mind, depending on when you watch this, if you're watching it live, these deals are active now, but they're deals, so they don't last forever. So I think the Allegiant airline deals expire tomorrow. These deals that I just talked about They expire. When do they expire? Boom, 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 boom. It's, and there's a code for these. You have to use a specific code, and they expire on Friday. So those are those specific deals. Now, I'm going to give
Fernando,
you.
there is a question in Instagram. They say the following. They say like, it is true that in Spirit they cancel or delay the trips, the flights. That is really common to find this with the Spirit.
No. Okay. So if I understand the question is it common for Spirit to cancel or delay a flight?
Yeah.
If that's the question, the answer is no. It's common in general for all airlines, right? But ever since, and this is a new rule that came out in Q4 of last year, airlines now must reimburse you if there's a delay. They can't use the excuse of weather anymore. If you're a frequent traveler, you know that often they'll delay a flight and say, "Oh, it's because of weather." Can't use that excuse anymore. So if they delay the flight, now there's time frames with them. They have to completely reimburse you or put you on they got to reimburse you, or they like give you a full refund, or they have to put you on a flight within a reasonable time. So, but to answer your question, I have not experienced as many delays on Spirit that I have on JetBlue. JetBlue, every time for whatever reason, lately it hasn't been the case. But for example, last year from January to July, almost every flight I flew on JetBlue was delayed. Not so much on Spirit, but are there are there delays? Yes. Excuse me. But every airline has delays. Now, this year, I've seen a decrease in those delays, but I think it's because of that new FAA rule. So now, people, don't get it twisted. Spirit's customer service isn't the best, but if you are a gold member, I am telling you, they treat you completely different. Just like if you're on JetBlue and you're a Mosaic member, they treat you completely different. Same applies to American Airlines, United. If you have status with them, they do treat you a little different. You get some privileges. But since we're talking specifically about budget travel, hence why I'm mentioning Spirit, man, if you reach that gold status, and it's super easy to get it. If you get their credit card, use their credit card, you'll start off with silver, but you can easily get gold. And or if you travel often, I highly recommend that to do that. Because if you get that gold number, they don't charge you for your seats. They don't charge you for food. They give you free Wi-Fi. You have the ability to change your ticket without penalties. So there's a lot of benefits to it. And then, like I said, as it relates to your seat, you can get free upgrades to either the big seats. I personally, there's another seat that I like. I don't want to mention it because people start taking it. But if you DM me, I'll tell you personally what that seat is. All the room you need, you're the first one to board. You don't have to worry about overhead space. There are a lot of travel hacks for a lot of these airlines. But Spirit, like, going back to Spirit, I used to freaking hate them until I got gold status and until I sat down with one of their flight attendants on one of the flights and just picked her brain out, picked her brain. What are some travel hacks that I should know about? How can I upgrade? How can I do X, Y, and Z? Man, it was gold information. That's why now I'm a big fan of Spirit. All right. So we went through that. Let's see what's next. Let's talk about the T. Okay. This was interesting. And again, this came about through a conversation. I have a friend of mine that works for TSA. And I recently had a conversation with him specifically as it relates to how they search bags, right? Because there's a misconception that bags are being searched randomly. That's not totally true. There is a random process, but it's a small part of the number of bags that get small reason. as to the number of bags that get searched. Now, I'm specifically referring to checked bags. Now, one of the reasons why I was never interested in this, one of the reasons why I never paid attention to this is because I hardly ever check a bag. In fact, I can't tell you the last time I checked a bag. I checked the bag, and I probably will never check a bag. But if I have to, there's certain things that you need to that I wanted to know about it, and specifically was how TSA searches bags. Now, TSA uses AI, and it's a AI system and X-ray machines when you run the bag through to single out bags, and they're looking for specific items. And what I'm going to talk about is 16 specific items that are like on top of their list that they're currently looking for. And I'm going to go through them. Now, these items that I'm going to talk about are banned, but some of these items are not only banned, but can get you either fined or put in jail, right? So you got to be very careful as it relates to some of these items. The first item that I'm going to talk about is alcohol, right? A lot of you like to travel and buy alcohol in the duty-free airport stores, right? Be very careful because, number one, you have a limit of how much alcohol you can transport. And it is, if I remember correctly, let me see if I can find that actual number. It is 5 liters or 1.3 gallons of alcohol is the most you can transport. In addition to that, the alcohol has to be under 70% proof. If it's over, it's illegal. Can't have it. It'll be confiscated. Now, you won't necessarily get fined for that yet, but it'll definitely get confiscated. Now, the reason they're stating that they don't want anything over 70%, and a lot of the stuff that it's banned is due to fires, right? Or safety issues. And that leads me to the next one. Now, the next one for me was common sense, but apparently, according to my friend at TSA, they confiscate so many of this that he has no idea how, like they're boxes. And those are lighters and matches. Everyone knows you can't carry that on your carry-on, but a lot of people don't know that you can't even have it on your checked bag. So, and it's one of the items that they look for. Now, there is an exception with lighters, and it's a lighter that doesn't have any fluid in it. But here's the problem. They're going to search your bag. They're going to take it out, and they're going to inspect it to make sure it doesn't have any fluids in it. So if you don't want to go through the inconvenience of having them go through your bag and check your item, now you probably won't even know because you're on the flight. But when you land, you're going to open up your bag. You're going to have a notice that your bag was inspected. So if you don't want them to go through your bag, then don't put any of these items in there. Next is e-cigarettes and vapes. Can't have them. They're banned, right? That's what surprised me, and that's lithium batteries. Now, here's the catch. Lithium batteries that are solo or by themselves are prohibited. You can have a lithium battery on your laptop, lithium batteries for your camera, obviously your phones. As long as the battery is being used with a specific item, you're good to go. But a lot of people, according to my buddy, carry extra lithium batteries. Prohibited. Can't have them. They're going to be confiscated and taken. Next, for all my ladies out there that like to travel, they like to look good when they're, wherever they're going, ditch, don't pack a cordless curling iron. They are prohibited. Stick to the cord, the one that has the cord. You're good with that. But if it's cordless, they're going to take it. Can't have it. Now, if, like, for example, some of these items, like the lighter, you're going to get a notice that it's taken, but it's going to be an inconvenience. So you're going to have to go and recoup that. And there'll be a notice in your bag. Next, now I have personal experience with this. Well, not me. My son has personal experience, but he was traveling with me. And those are novelty items. don't buy that cute little perfume or whatever it is that looks like a hand grenade. In the case of my son, we went to Spain and we went to Toledo. And if you know anything about Toledo, Toledo's famous for their swords. If you go down, a lot of the shops will sell you some of these replicas or some of these souvenir swords. Well, my son ended up buying a few, put them in his checked bag, and his bag got searched. Right. So anything that looks like a weapon, don't put it in your bag because it's going to get searched to be inspected. And some novelty items may be confiscated depending on the size. Like if my son's swords were a little bit bigger, they weren't going to let him bring them over. Now, the next item that I'm going to talk about can get you fined and even arrested, and that is meat and produce products. Now, again, speaking of Spain, if you go to Spain and you fall in love with their delicious jamón ibérico, don't buy a whole leg, put it in your suitcase to bring it back. Can't do it. It's illegal. It's banned. Same thing with all fruits and vegetables. I'm sure you guys seen when you come through immigration, you see the TSA and customs officers walking around with their Begos, smelling your luggage. A lot of people think they're looking for drugs. No, they're really looking for vegetables, meats, and some produce products that are banned that you can bring in. Don't do that. Now, if you are a short-term rental operator, or if you are a traveler that looking and you're going to go to, let's say, the Grand Canyon, you're going to go to some area where you're going to go camping, a lot of camping products are prohibited. Don't put them in your bags. So, for example, to give you a few, the propane canisters, not allowed. Those little stoves, not allowed. The bags to heat up your food, not allowed. There's a whole list of these camping items that are not allowed. Highly recommend if you're going to one of those places, or if you're a short-term rental host and you live or your property is near a national park and you get a lot of campers, make sure you notify them and let them know. Go onto the TSA website, print out the list of banned items, and make sure you send it to them so they don't get stuck in the airport and get their stuff confiscated and miss their airport, miss their flight, I mean. Then the last item I'm going to talk about, it's another big one. I actually mentioned this on I don't remember which STR News, because it's a big problem. There's a lot of people going to jail for the one I'm going to talk about, and that's ammunition, right? Even one solitary round will get you in trouble. And like I mentioned, we've had a lot of incidents, especially internationally, where people made it through TSA here on their bags, but when they got to their destination, specifically, I believe it was one of the Caribbean islands. I think it was not Trinidad. I'm drawing it back, but it's one of the Caribbean islands. They have a zero tolerance policy. And there was one specific case that actually made the news where a father got arrested, spent 9 months in jail for having rounds in his bag, and he was an avid hunter, forgot. First of all, how he made it through TSA originally is beyond me, but he made it through. But when he got to his destination, didn't make it through there. So those are the banned items. Again, this is related to check bags because a lot of you think that you can add anything to a check bag. Not the case. Be very careful there. Now, let's talk about how to spend your refund money. I'm going to give you 11 breathtaking national parks around the world that I personally recommend. I actually visit most of these. Some of these are very inexpensive. Right now, it's actually kind of the time to go, and I'm gonna start with the first one because it's so close to us, and that's the Galapagos Island, the national park in Ecuador. If you're in South Florida, it's a very short flight to get there. You're gonna go to Quito, or you can even go to Guayaquil, and then it's a short flight to get here. But who is this trip for? It's any outdoorsy, beachgoer, snorkeler type person. It is probably some of the most beautiful waters. You're definitely going to see sea life, all sorts of creatures out there, friendly creatures. You're going to see, it is really beautiful. It is a once in a lifetime experience to go here. Highly recommend it, which is why it's number one for me. Highly recommend you go there. The next one, not so common. A lot of people are not familiar with this. It is a ways from here, and it is the Masai Mara National Reserves in Kenya. If you like wildlife, specifically African wildlife, where you see zebras, lions, tigers, all that stuff, man, this place is phenomenal. Again, who is this for? This is for the avid animal lover and for the photographer. You are the type of person that likes to travel and take photos. Highly recommend you go here. Lorena, if you can do me a favor, I sent you an email, and I forgot to bring this up, but I sent you an email with this list that I'm going through with pictures. If you can do me a favor and bring those up, and we can start showing some of these pictures. Let me know if you can do that. For now, I'm going to go ahead and continue until she does it. Now, the next national park, I don't know how to pronounce it. It's in Iceland, so it's got an Icelandic name, but it is, I'll spell it. It is Vatnajokull. Those of you out there that know how to pronounce that, go ahead and pronounce it. But that national park, people, it is a hiker's dream. Extremely beautiful. I recommend that you go in between June and August, only because of the weather and the sunlight. If you know anything about the Nordic areas, it gets really cold, and depending on the time of year you go, you're not going to get any sunlight. But if you go now in June and late August, between that time frame, highly recommend it. Now, who's this trip for? I just mentioned it earlier. It's for hikers. If you are a hiker or a road tripper, because if you rent a car and you go, okay, thank you, Lorena. That one, that's not. Wait.
Is this one?
Yeah, that one. So go down to the next picture, which is the Galapagos Island.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's my number one. And the reason I say this is my number one is, especially if you guys like the water, it's just because it's so close for here. It's a short flight. A lot of these that I'm going to talk about are not short flights. So, but this particular trip, now is the time. Again, you can go between now and August. Perfect time to go. Go down to the next one, Lorena, which is the reserve in Kenya. Right there. Again, people, that's what you see when you go there. It's not one of these hit or miss type trips where you may see something. No, you will definitely see wildlife in this reserves. Go down to the next one, which is the national park in Iceland. So again, if you go there, it's called the Midnight Sun, aka nearly 24 hours of daylight. Now it's a little weird because you're not going to get any, there's no night. So it's for us that we're used to having, a day and night. It is a little weird. It's a little tough to sleep, but suck it up and do it anyways. It is phenomenal. You're going to really enjoy it. Go down to the next one in Indonesia, Komodo National Park. This place here, this trip is for those that love to scuba dive. If you like to scuba dive, this has some of the best diving areas out there. And they're known for their lizards. If you like lizards, you like Komodos, you like iguanas. then this is the place to go. The next go down, another one is it's in Jordan. Now, this is for history buffs, right? And if you are a backpacker and you like to backpack through the desert, this is an area that I recommend. I like to hike. I like to walk. I like history. So this is one of the reasons why I added this one. Now, here's the thing with this trip here, especially today. I went many years ago. We didn't have the instability that you have today, although Jordan is not an unstable area. But, this is one of the places that I like. They do have some, if you've never ridden on a camel, it's a unique experience. You're going to be able to do it here. So this is why I added that destination. Go down to the next one, which is another, is in Zimbabwe. This is the only one on the list that I have not visited, but I'm adding it because if you like animals, if you haven't been on a safari, this one's highly, highly recommended. Like I said, I sent people here. Everyone that I sent here has loved it. So one of the reasons why I'm adding it to our list. Great place. Go down to the next one, which is in Chile. Now, we're in South America. Now, I added this one because, again, I love hiking. If you like to hike, the Torres del Paine National Park in Chile, people, this is beautiful. It is really, really nice. It is a little chilly, which if you're a hiker, you want it to be a little chilly. You don't really want it to be super hot. But you can spend weeks here, and it's just gorgeous. Very peaceful, very tranquil. You're going to see lagoons. You're going to see mountains. You'll go from really cold weather to mild weather. Pretty cool. Go down to the next one. Now, when I went to this place here, extremely interesting. First of all, I would probably bet the majority of people watching have no idea where this country is. I didn't really know where the country was, but here's where it is. And the way I got here is I flew into Venice, and then I drove from Venice, Italy, to Slovenia. It's a short drive. I think it took us maybe an hour and 15 minutes to get across. But this national park was extremely awesome. If you like adventures, this is where you want to go. I went mountain biking here and had a blast going through here. And again, this is for those of you that are looking that have to travel in the summer. This is why I'm mentioning these destinations. Number one, they're not common destinations. And I'm imploring people not to go to these tourist traps that today don't want you there, right? Go where you are wanted. This particular national park here in this beautiful country, because it's gorgeous here and it's inexpensive. I can't rave about this place enough. It's one of the oldest national parks in Europe. Again, if you like adventures, you want to go to the mountains, you want to paraglide, mountain bike, hike, this national park is awesome. Go to the next one. Now, this is to our neighbors to the north in Canada. Now, here's what's cool about this, and this is for the extremely outdoorsy people. This is for you. I love this place. Number one, you can go canoeing here, and you can canoe for hours and not see a soul. You'll be the only one on the water. Number two, you can take a train. Depending on how much time you have, there's several trains that you can take. And let me see if I can. No, I'm not going to look for it right now. But there's several trains. There's a 2-day train, a 4-day train, and then like a round trip one that'll take you through these mountains. Beautiful, people. They have stops. I'm gonna get it's like the equivalent of taking a cruise, but on a train, because you're gonna be hitting these different spots. Um, it's an experience. I personally don't like. I like to be on my own agenda. I don't want to be on somebody else's schedule. So I've never taken the train, but I've put a lot of people on there, and they all have said it was extremely beautiful. I personally like to drive it myself, pick my own plots. Like, I'm going to give you an example. We're now in May. We're going to be going to Europe, and I've talked about this before. I like to travel via bike or scooter, but we're going to be renting e-bikes, and we're going to be visiting a lot of the villages on our own. So I'm going to do my own itinerary. I'm going to be going through villages on my own. We're also going to rent a car to go through the Swiss Alps, etc. But that's what we did here, right, in Canada. Rented a car, did my own itinerary. But if you like the outdoors, this is for you, people. You're not going to regret it, and it's our neighbors, right? It's really close. It's not as far as going to Europe or going to Africa. We got a few more. We got two more. Go down to the next one. Now this next one, I'm not going to even try to pronounce it either. I'm not even going to try. But this is a blend for those that like a blend of nature and spirituality. It's more for those of you that like I don't want to say the hippie type, that like that, but it's for that type of person. Go down to the next one, the last one, because the last one I really like. But it's a trek, people, and that's the Foreland National Park in New Zealand. The issue for us here is it's just getting there, man. It's a long flight to get to New Zealand. But if you love cruising, you love backpacking, and you're serious about trekking, bam, this national park is for you. It's huge, people. It's a big national park. And this national park here, it's surrounded by large bodies of water. Hence why, if you like to cruise, this is one of the ones that I highly recommend you take. And if you like to backpack, I mean, you can backpack this national park for a long time. All right, those are my recommendations. That's where I believe you should be spending your tax money on. And how much time we've been on? I think that's going to be it. I'm not going to take much longer. All right, that's going to be it for today. Those, again, if you have any comments, questions, list them below. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed. Follow me on Instagram. Again, this is going to be the last live video I'm going to do because, as I mentioned, the first, I think it's on the 3rd of May, I'm leaving to Europe. And because of the time frame, I don't know if I'm going to have an opportunity to go live again. If I can, I will. There'll be lots of pre-recorded stuff. Follow me on Instagram because I post a lot of pictures on Instagram. We're going to be visiting France, Germany, Austria, Switzerland. So I got a full itinerary. Some of the most beautiful remote areas that most people don't know about. I'm going to be visiting. I'm going to be posting about them. Anyway, love you guys. I will see you on the next one.